So Activision just in one fell swoop killed off 3 or 4 different Call of Duty community projects. So SM2 received a cease and desist letter, meaning all of their operations are going to be permanently shut down. Same thing with Xlabs. Today they tweeted that they also received a cease and desist from Activision, and they will be permanently shutting down as well. The Boiii client for Black Ops 3, which is supposed to make it safe to enjoy the game online, is also being taken down. And I wouldn't be surprised at this point if Plutonium suffers the same fate. But what does all this mean? You guys are probably confused about this situation, but this has been going down over the past couple of days, and all this stuff has been happening. I wasn't even planning on making a video about this. I was silently just observing what was going on in the background, just letting things happen and see how they play out, but it's gotten so ridiculous to this point where I actually do want to say a few things about it, and I feel like I've seen some kind of silly takes about the entire scenario here, so I want to talk about and discuss in a little bit more of a nuanced way about maybe what is happening and why. Now, the tricky part about this whole story is that each individual project, they got taken down around the same time, but they've been taken down because of sort of different circumstances. And in some cases, I feel like it's justified, and in some cases, I don't. So it's very tricky to take apart. So I feel like we should know which each project was to begin with. Now, the first one that actually received a takedown notice was SM2. This was a community project, basically like the COD Online equivalent for the community, where they were taking all different kinds of assets from virtually every Call of Duty game. It's pretty much like the fanfic version of Call of Duty, and it was going to be a game that everybody could play, and you didn't need to purchase any other Call of Duty game to enjoy SM2 when it came out. And I think that was one of the issues they ran into, but also reportedly it was because they were using some of their technology on the Modern Warfare 2019 engine, which Activision did not like, and then sent out a cease and desist letter for the takedown. And if that is the case, it's very unfortunate. It is a bummer. It's a real shame that SM2 has been taken down. It's been this project that people have been quite excited about, and the people that are worked on it obviously were very passionate about the situation, but in some sense, I can kind of understand why they would take this down. It is made of literally just all assets that Activision owns, and it's a game that either the devs of SM2 are going to charge people to have, or, people do not need to purchase Call of Duty to play this game. Now, here's the thing though, is Activision totally within their right to take this down? Absolutely. They can, again, they own these assets. It's totally their right to remove it. Should they is the question, and I think that's where it gets a little more gray. Technically, Activision can do whatever they want with their property. Even this video, I'm using Activision's assets and gameplay to make this commentary, and of course, that means they could take this down whenever they want to as well, or any YouTube video, matter of fact, that features any Call of Duty gameplay, period. Now, should they do that? Well, you would say, no, of course not, because that hurts the community and their economy. It's this mutually beneficial ecosystem that creators basically give free advertising to Activision for their games, and vice versa, and we're able to build an audience, using their game. And so it was just this mutually beneficial ecosystem, and I would make the argument that SM2 existed in that. I don't see a world where SM2 was necessarily harmful to Activision or maybe their future projects. That's hard to say for sure, but SM2 has existed as a project forever, and either it was always on Activision's radar and just nobody made a move on it, or maybe due to the recent acquisition, the deals that are going on with Microsoft, and maybe some higher up sees this as a problem coming down the road, and maybe this does conflict with some kind of future project or something. Maybe now is why they're finally taking time to act on it, because it's not just SM2, as we said, it's the Xlabs client as well, and the Boiii client. But out of these three specifically, while I'm not defending it whatsoever or even saying it's right, out of these three projects, I can understand taking down SM2 the most. Like, that's the one I can kind of understand, but I'm not saying it doesn't suck. It's a huge bummer. I wish they would have left SM2 alone, as it's existed just as its own thing for all this time without really being an issue. I think it makes it worse because Activision has not given a reason for these cease and desist letters to be going out, even though they're probably for similar reasons, but a lot of them have maybe different, specific circumstances. And again, maybe I can understand taking down SM2, but what I get a little bit less is the Xlabs client. Xlabs is quite different to SM2, where that game was kind of like making their own different, unique game, just using Activision's assets and things like that in their property. Xlabs is more or less just a client that allows you to play a lot of these older, primarily Infinity Ward titles on PC with some updated things. Like, for example, some of the games have bots that previously didn't launch with bots when they came out the year that they did, and just a bunch of little like quality of life things that allow you to enjoy that experience in current day. On PC, people don't really play on Steam. They primarily play on something like like Xlabs because it just has a lot more features that are more conducive and friendly to playing it in modern day and still getting that experience. And with Xlabs, a massive difference compared to SM2 is to use Xlabs, you still need to purchase and own the game on Steam to interact with it. So let's say you want to play something like Modern Warfare 2, the original, on Xlabs, you still need to buy the game on Steam. So it's not that Activision isn't getting money in this way. Now, technically, I think there is a way to circumvent paying for the game to, play these games on Xlabs. I think there actually is a way. And so if that's the case, if that is the reason they send out these cease and desist, that also kind of does make sense. But considering that most people, if not all, are probably paying for these games to play them on Xlabs, then I don't really see any harm or foul situation here. This just allows people to play the game in a more updated way because they are either primarily dead on Steam or they are, rampant with cheaters, which the developers of these clients usually are able to snuff out relatively easily. It's really sad as well because Xlabs has been so helpful for me over the past couple months when I've been doing these reviews of older Call of Duty games because, of course, you can't really get the multiplayer experience as it were anymore on just like either console or just the normal like Steam version of the game. So Xlabs was an absolute godsend for that kind of thing. And again, I don't even really feel like it was a negative to Activision too much as most people were still paying to get into the experience to begin with. So that kind of confuses me and I don't really agree, or I can't even really understand why they would do that. But the one I understand the least, and I think is outright absurd and wrong, is with the Black Ops 3 or the Boiii client. Be mad at Activision for taking down SM2, that's fair enough. Or be mad at Activision for taking down Xlabs, also fair. In a lot of ways, I agree. But even in those two cases, I can still kind of understand why Activision would act on these. Maybe is it bad timing to do so? Of course, it's shitty. I don't think anybody's arguing that. But the thing I do not get behind at all, and I cannot see any reason for, is them taking down the Black Ops 3 Boiii client. So let me explain this situation to you. Black Ops 3 has been unsafe to play for quite some time now, where hackers, and I'm not even over-exaggerating, if you were to load up the game on Steam, then everything from your IP to your location potentially, or even your hardware is at risk, where hackers could literally write malware onto your computer from simply loading up the game. Now, to my knowledge, Treyarch did actually fix this recently to where hackers can no longer write literal malware on your computer, which is good, but they didn't fix the things like potentially IP locations or like the even just booting them offline or getting other personal information. You're still at risk of getting doxxed if you're playing Black Ops 3 on Steam. And the Boiii client was a fix for this. It allowed you to play BO3 in a more safe way that didn't have you at risk for being hacked or having any of your personal information be leaked or compromised in any way. So this is the thing that I don't understand, is that this is a PR nightmare for Activision because they have not mentioned any solution for this. They haven't said that they're going to be fixing Black Ops 3 again like they kind of said they were before. We're just left in the dark. Like, when you look at all of these, they've been taken down around the same time, but they make less and less sense as they go on. SM2, again, it's a massive bummer. I don't think anyone wanted to see this taken down. We all wanted this really cool and creative, neat Call of Duty game that the community was making. But in some sense, it's fair that Activision would want to take that down if it's just made out of a bunch of like stolen assets, etc. And they're charging for it. Okay, I can kind of get it. Not saying it's right, but they are within their right to do that, I suppose. Xlabs, maybe a little bit less because most people are probably buying the game still to even interact with it, and maybe for the people that are circumventing it, who knows, maybe there would be a loophole for that would still allow Xlabs to remain in business. But then for the Boiii client, just for people not wanting to literally get doxxed when playing Black Ops 3 and still having to purchase the game to play it on the Boiii client at the same time, that is what I don't get, because I do think the Boiii client was a Patreon only thing for a while, but I think it was going to have like some kind of free public release. I don't know if it was because they were making money from this client why Activision decided to take it down. Who knows? That's why I said all the individual circumstances appear to be a little bit different in every case, which was what makes it super messy. But I think the worst part about it all is we don't have a reason. Activision has not come out publicly and explained to us why they are cease and desisting these different community projects. And I think even if we had a little bit of a reason, even if we don't necessarily agree with it, we could maybe understand why that is. It could do anything from like data collection to security issues with these things to maybe these projects conflicting with future projects that Activision is maybe working on. But the weird thing is the timing, because it seems all of this stuff is happening around this Microsoft acquisition deal with Activision that has not necessarily gone through yet. The papers haven't been signed, so to speak, but it's probably trending in that direction. So why they're acting on it now, there could be a billion reasons for that, but I think it's worse not knowing what the reason is, unfortunately. I would love to just have some transparency about it, and even if we don't necessarily agree, it is a bummer all these things have been removed, because they've been super helpful for a lot of us, and they've just been great projects, but they are totally within their right to take them down. But should they is the different question, and I don't think they should have. Let's just say Activision has not scored themselves any brownie points with the community at the moment, despite their reputation already kind of being down the drain to begin with. So I don't really know what the plan was here, but I did want to talk about this situation, and let me know what you guys think down below.